Welcome to another episode of Community Chat. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I'll be your host for this segment. This is a very special segment that we are doing today. Joining us today is Richard Henry. He is an ALR Ombudsman Program Director for the Old Colony Planning Council, along with Donna Frett-Hughes, who is the Lawn Care Ombudsman Program Director, also for the Old Colony Planning Council. And you're asking yourself, well, what is the Ombudsman Program? Well, we are going to talk about this very important resource for families and residents. I'm just going to read the information right here. It helps the residents of long-term care and assisted living communities. The Old Colony Planning Council's Ombudsman Program. This is a free, confidential service that provides advocacy to residents, making sure that their voices are heard and their care is safe, respectful, and of the highest quality. That is very important. The program serves dozens of facilities and communities south of Boston and relies on dedicated volunteers who visit residents to help them resolve issues. We're joined today by both Richard and Donna, and they're going to talk a little bit about this program because in today's day and age, volunteers are very hard to come by, and this program thrives on it. Donna, Richard, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start out. Donna, tell us a little bit about yourself as far as being the program director, long-term care director, an ombudsman. Talk to us about it.
Okay. I came into the Ombudsman's program about 6 months ago, and I, like most people, didn't know what the Ombudsman's program was all about, but being in the health field, I was able to register with it very quickly, the care of others, and being the voice and the advocate of those residents. So the Ombudsman's program is exactly like you said, just that, being in the space and advocating for those and their rights.
Rich, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that an ALR Ombudsman Program Director does?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing. The Assisted Living Program Director pretty much does the same thing as the Long-Term Program Director. One is more medical and one ALR is more tenant to landlord situation. Usually we go out, do the visits, chat with the residents, find out if there's an issue. Sometimes we do routine visits, sometimes we're called to the community. It just depends.
Okay, let's talk for those who aren't program. Now, is it strictly is it just rest homes, or is it anybody who is in a nursing facility, Donna?
Well, there are two sections to the Ombudsman's program through Old Colony Planning Council.
Okay.
The assistant living and the nursing home and the rest home. So Richard definitely takes care of the assistant living. I mainly do the nursing homes and the rest homes. And there are 27 of those on the south side, as far down as Wareham. And like Richard, we do the visits at least twice a week. We would love to get in there once a week, but at times, based on not having enough coverage, at least we should get in there at least twice a week, twice a month, sorry.
Richard, would you say that's kind of a key factor is being able to visit on a regular basis?
It does.
Especially when it comes to the ALR side of things?
Yeah, it definitely is. Mine's a little bit wider. I cover the Bristol County, South Shore, and Cape and Islands. So I have 62 communities that I covered right now. So we have a quarter of 3 months where you have to pretty much visit each community for that quarter. But there's times where you can visit one particular community 3 times. Depends on if there's an issue or there's a need.
Let's talk a little bit about Old Colony Planning Council and their program. 62, I'd say 62 particular communities. Let's talk about Old Colony Planning Council. Is yours a little bit smaller as to the coverage area, or is it just as vast?
I think his is more vast than mine because he does north, south, east, west. I'm more like south. So I go down to Wareham, Plymouth, Middleborough, East Bridgewater, Brockton. So it's vast, in its own rights, but at the same time, it's not as vast as 65 on different corners of Massachusetts.
Let's go ahead. You want to follow?
Yeah, and also I do have more community, but I'm required to do less visit per
Less
community.
visits,
Where
yes.
she probably, I think you have to go at least once a week or twice a week. I just
Yes,
need to
once
get
a week.
each assisted living community per quarter, which is 3 months.
What would you each say is the most challenging part of making sure you are able to serve those particular facilities and their residents? Richard?
The challenging part is, I think a lot of time is just getting the resident to trust you, because sometimes they want help and they're scared that
Nervous.
they're scared that if they speak up, it might come back to haunt them. So it takes a while to build that trust.
Donna?
I would say the most challenging part is actually getting to the space and spending time with them. Because you would like to touch each and every single one of them, and time doesn't permit that. So even if you spend 2 hours in a facility, you feel like you have always left one person untouched. So trying to be able to touch every person that has a need. This is why sometimes we have to be in those facilities at least once a week, because sometimes one place may have a more demand than the other. So being able to, answer the need and the call is most challenging, but we have to get into that space. So we do the best we can.
I will say that personally, in particular, I'm interested in this program. I have an older parent who is needed around the clock care, more care than myself or my significant other could provide,
Yes.
or any of my family members could do. And my dad's in a great spot, but there are times that he's not happy. And I feel that through the Ombudsman program, that whenever he felt that there was a quality of life issue or something that he needed to, that he'd be able to speak to a volunteer and say, this is what some of the items are that I'm dealing with, this is my thought. Sometimes it's beyond the nurse and facilities control, but at least the individual feels as though they're being heard. My dad feels as he's being heard. Again,
Yes.
sometimes some of the things he asks for, I'm like, I don't know if this is something that's possible, but it's something that can be looked at. At least they
Yes.
at least feel that they are heard.
Yeah.
Do the residents that you deal with, or that any of your volunteers deal with, feel similar?
Yes, they do. A lot of times they're having disagreement sometimes with the nurses or the CNAs and timing of the care that they receive, right? And they don't want you to talk about it because they want to be anonymous. Because once you walk away and they're left with that same staff, that's a concern for them. So a lot of times they don't want to speak up, and when they have the opportunity to, they say, can we go to a private space? Can I talk to you, privately? Because they have that fear, which we are trying to eliminate, because no one should be afraid to say how they feel about how they're being cared for. So, and that's when we have to go to the nursing staff or the unit manager or straight to the admin and say, this is a real concern that the residents are afraid to speak up. So how can we resolve this? There need to be a conflict resolution, so to speak, about having persons comfortable where they live, because this is their home.
Do you want to follow up on that, Richard?
Yeah, retaliation definitely is an issue, because it's not necessarily just residents. A lot of time it's the family.
Yes.
They'll call and they'll say, okay, I have an issue, but could you handle it discreetly, because I don't want my mom to, the community to retaliate against my mom. And it takes a while. You speak with them and kind of calm the situation down. And I mean, you can't ensure, but you let them know that, hey, I'm here, and the likelihood of retaliation is slim.
Let's take a look at how the Ombudsman program works on a day-to-day basis. What does it look like when a volunteer visits a resident or residents, Donna?
Okay, let's say I go to visit a facility, the first thing I try to do, we have to actually figure out how many residents are in the facility and get a feel of the air, what's happening in the space, because you can literally tell sometimes when you walk into the facility what's going on, just by whether the residents are sitting by themselves or people are making noise, or there's just something going on. So we go to their rooms and we walk around to the different wards and we talk to them. We try to go into their rooms. We try not to go when it's lunchtime, because they're eating, you're not going to get any conversation, and try not to go too early. So usually between the hours of 10, exclude lunch, and then about 1, 2 before the nap time comes in.
Or bingo.
Bingo, or activity, that's right. They're alive.
Dad's all about bingo.
Yeah, they're alive and they want to say something. So you have to time it very carefully. And so we go and we try to have as much conversation with them, see if, get them comfortable so they can say something or not. But most of the time, if they're comfortable, they will share. So try to just kind of go in with a joyous atmosphere, positive. Hi, how you doing? How are things going? And if you get that feel like they're pulling back, then you just avoid that subject. Go and say, I'll be back soon. Go and see someone else. And just get them to that point to say, yes, I want to talk now. So you really have to time it and just kind of use kid's glove with them. 'Cause it's almost like they're coming around,
Richard, what kind of issues or concerns can an ombudsman volunteer help residents address? What are some of the things that you've experienced?
I mean, it could be, it's a little different with long-term care and assisted living.
Okay.
Because
let's make sure we share the differences.
Right, because the ALR difference would be, it's more of, it could be, you're being charged for services. You could be charged for services that are not provided. It could be anything from the thermostat, because you're dealing with apartments. Yeah, you're dealing with somebody's apartment. So it could be housekeeping. It could be laundry. So.
As far as when it comes to the volunteer visits, is that also a different type of issues, or how would the day-to-day look for an ALR volunteer?
Different issues?
Well, no. Let's say I'm going to digress to the question I had asked Donna earlier, and that is regarding the Ombudsman program. When it comes to the day-to-day basis, what does it look like when a volunteer is visiting an ALR resident?
Well, it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
You walk in, you try to get a roster, a census of the residents that are there. Me personally, I like to visit during lunchtime. Yeah, I do, because it's an apartment, so if they're not at lunch, you don't see anybody. So when you go and they're at lunch, it's like you talk to one group and everybody's like, who's that guy? So they're looking forward to you coming to their table. So that works perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that works out perfect during lunch. And bingo, like I said. Well, bingo, no, because they don't want to be bothered at bingo.
Yeah, because they don't want to miss a number.
Yeah, they're like, come back.
Number or letter, you do that, you're in trouble.
And I leave my card a lot of times, because when you speak to them, you can tell sometimes they want to talk, but people around, so you give your card. I always give everybody my card and say, please call, and that works.
Can we talk about the differences between long-term and assisted living when it comes to having the type of confidentiality advocacy available to them? Richard, talk about how important that is.
It's the same. In terms of confidentiality, I believe it's the same. You speak with them, and that's the first thing they usually ask, is this confidential? Who's going to hear about this? And sometimes they'll give you their issues, and they'll want it to remain confidential, and it's up to you to make them feel comfortable and say, this is going to be confidential. Or sometimes you really can't solve the issue without letting them know where it's coming from, honestly.
Yeah, I've had the same, like I said, as I alluded to with my own personal situation, same thing, where you have to, if it's an issue that you have to have others involved, it's not as easy going, okay, I'll kind of keep this to myself. If you want this to be resolved, other people have to be involved with this. But I think you've got to gain that level of confidence.
Right.
To be able to do that. I'm sure each of you might have some sort of a success story when it comes to how the program has made a real difference in someone's quality of care. Donna, do you have any examples that you can think of?
Well, I have a great example with a lady who kept complaining about a mattress that's giving her pain everywhere. And she said, I can't sleep at night. I just can't sleep at night. I keep asking them, I can't sleep at night. I need a new mattress. So I went to the administrator and I said, she keeps saying she can't sleep at night. What's going on? So He said, well, I've changed the mattress several times. I mean, we have several of them in the back, and we keep rotating them. And I'm like, rotating them? I mean, you may be giving her the same one and not realizing that.
Right.
So what's wrong with giving her a new mattress? Well, I didn't think about that. I said, well, why don't you just get her a new mattress, then you can gauge it and see if it's wear and tear, or if we have to talk about nutrition of her, eating habits, has she gained weight? Have that conversation with her, and then follow the trend, what's happening with the mattress. And he said, I never thought about that. Next thing I know, he bought a new mattress. I went in to visit her, and she's like, oh, Donna. She see me coming down the hallway. Oh, Donna, I got good news. I said, what is it? She said, I had my first good nights of sleep in so many months. No pain, no aches. Now, I'm hoping that lasts a very long time, but she was so happy that she actually had a good night's sleep that night. And she talk about it every time she sees me. No complaints.
How about you? Success story you can think of?
Yeah, there's quite a few, but I'll touch on a financial one.
Okay.
There was a resident who was complaining because she was being charged for services that pretty much she didn't need. Like the community decided that, hey, you know what, you need us to do your laundry, you need us to do your bath, and they were charging her. They charged actually like $8,000 was the total. And she said, I don't need this service, but they insisted. So I got involved, sat down, spoke, had a big family meeting. Long story short, I had the $8,000 refunded to her because they were providing the services based on their thinking that she needed it when she didn't. Yeah. And that often happens. A lot of, again, in assisted living, a lot of it is finance because it's all paid for out of pocket. There's no insurance.
Let's talk about the program and its need for volunteers. They're needed. Why is it such a critical need for people to step up as of now? Richard?
Well, it's a critical need because you need more people on the ground. You need more people in the communities. If you have more, like for me on the assisted living side, like I said, it's 3 months per quarter. If I have more volunteer, it can be more frequent visits. And I think that just being there, speaks a lot of volumes. Yep.
Donna, same? Well, how about you?
Yeah, I would say there's a need for volunteers because as the community ages, we're going to have more and more people into that space. As it stands right now, I mean, if a bed is empty, it's unfortunate that that person have passed on. But as soon as that bed is empty, there's a long list of people that wanted to get into that space. And we only have, the ratio is so small. You can very well have one volunteer for 102 persons. And that's a lot of walking and trying to get to touch everybody's lives. So it would be nice if we can get person that has a heart, that care about the elderly community to come in and say, hey, I don't have a loved one here, but I would like to check on these folks and see how they're doing. We need people like that to come in and help us to give these persons that ability to say, I'm still alive, I have a friend that comes and visit me once in a while. And it makes all the difference to them, actually, because we have persons that we talk to. They're just looking out the window, hoping that somebody will say hello and say something to them. And it's hard, for them.
Let's talk about a recent tragedy that took place, the devastating fire down in Fall River. A lot of folks think that if maybe there were more checks and balances, that someone could have raised concerns about safety and the quality of care, that maybe this could have prevented a few things. How could an ombudsman volunteer be a part of a solution to help prevent something like what happened down in Fall River?
I feel like that would be tough because that was more fire safety issues, so it wasn't something that was visible. It was more fire alarms and the sprinkler system. I think that was one of the main issues there. So I don't think I would have spotted that, or a volunteer would have spotted that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about commitment. If someone is going to volunteer, what does it require? What are we talking as far as hours per week? What are we talking per month? Donna?
Well, we have persons that can do, if they're short term, meaning they could only do a couple hours, right? They can go into those facilities. We assign them to different facilities based on their need. So let's take Brockton, for example. If we get a volunteer that's local, they can do once a week, and that's fine. But if you're talking Plymouth, and they can only do every other week, then that's fine for us, but we would like them to be at least bi-weekly into the space. Based on the state, we would like to see them in every week. But based on volunteers, we can't do all of that, but it's required for us to at least be in there twice, every other week into that space to at least have a feel of what's happening. We would love volunteers to be in once a week, but we would need more volunteers to do that.
And that would be for a similar situation?
Yeah,
similar. I mean, I started out as a volunteer with just one long-term. I started off actually on the long-term side. I started off with one, and then I was given another. And then a position opened up where I actually left from being a volunteer to work in, I think it was 4.5 hours per week, into this role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like the role?
I like it. I really like it. It's very rewarding. You know, it's fulfilling. I feel like I help. You know, and that you know, helping somebody without a voice or helping. Sometimes it's something really simple. You go there and they'll say, "Oh, my thermometer's not working," and I get that fixed, and they think that I'm like the savior. You know, and to me, it's just like. Wasn't a big deal at all, but it's still a good feeling leaving there knowing I made somebody happy, because sometimes the residents really don't have family or anybody. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you both this question. I want to gauge you, get your thoughts. What qualities make someone a good fit for this kind of role? Donna?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
I can go to Richard first if you want.
I can
No,
take
but I can answer
Okay.
it because I don't want to elaborate, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people think they can do a role, but once they get into a situation, they're like, no, that's not for me.
Absolutely.
You know, and I was like, yeah, this is why when we're thinking about volunteers, we like to bring them on, do the Corey check. We're going to take you out for a visit so you can see what you're going to work with, because it's different when you're in the space. You know, and seeing a lot that's happening in the space. Then you'd be like, can I do this? Then you know for sure, right? But if you're a person who's always caring for others and have a heart and making sure that people are okay, bring that to us. We want the heart and we want the time, the passion for caring for someone and making a difference.
Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, you have to be a caring person. You have to want to help.
Yes.
You have to definitely be a good listener.
Oh, yes.
And patience. You have to have a lot of patience, because sometimes it's as easy as getting information, and sometimes you have to kind of work your way around to make them comfortable to give you the information. So
And-
definitely a good listener and patience.
And you got to be okay with hearing the story 10 times.
That's the patience.
They will tell
That's
you.
the patience.
Yeah.
Right, because you are dealing with folks who might memory loss, Alzheimer's,
Yep.
various issues. You have to be caring and understanding, because I think some of us are going to trend that way, one way or the other. You just got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because trust me, you're right. When I go see my dad, so many times. I mean, it may be a week, it could be a couple of months, but he'll tell me the same story, and I will listen to him like it's the first time.
First
First time that I'm.
That's
like,
right.
oh,
That's
you-
right.
You have to do
Right,
that.
That's right.
right.
You
That's
know,
right.
it's part of. I would want that someone to do that for me. I would think that you'd want the same thing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should ask this. Do volunteers need any kind of healthcare experience, whether it's ALR or long term?
It certainly helps.
It helps.
It helps
But it's
quite
not
a
a
bit.
necessity.
It's not important. That's
Okay.
obvious, yeah.
If someone is listening and they want to get involved, what steps should they take? Richard?
Well, their information.
Okay.
I'll give Donna that.
Okay, well, we do have an application that's
Right.
on the Old Colony Ombudsman tab.
Okay.
Once they go on there, it's give them the information, share it with us. There's a Corey check, like I said, fill out the application. We will run the application, we will give you a call, and then at that time, there is a training that's needed to be done after the Corey check. And if you're truly interested after the Corey check and a site visit, we move forward. And that training starts in February. This year, February and March
Yeah, okay.
of 2026.
Yep.
Because we didn't have any volunteers for December. So we moved it over in hopes that we would get some volunteers and get that training in. So we have, you can contact me at my email address, which is Donna D. Frett-Hughes at ocpcrpa.org, or call me on my phone, 774-539-5119. I'll be happy to share more information at that time with them.
Yeah, and again, for folks, it's if you look on the screen, it's popping up on as we speak for folks to be able to kind of read it. Anything that I haven't asked you about the Ombudsman program, but you feel is necessary to make sure you share with our viewers today, Donna?
I want to share one important thing about the Ombudsman's program. Being in the health field for a little while, I think a lot of people misunderstand what we do. And I think there's a need for education around the program, not just for the residents, because a lot of families get involved and they don't understand what's happening with their loved ones. And if we can somehow educate them, not just financially about how much they have to pay, but understand what the CNA, the administrators are caring about with their families. That piece needs to come together. They have to marry all of it so we can give the best quality care. And our program is resident focused. Even though we deal with the family, we still have to go and talk to the residents before we address the family, because that's our focus, making sure that the resident is cared for within their home.
Yes. And I know you want, I don't know if there's anything we didn't touch upon when it comes to assisted living and the residents, anything?
Yeah, and like you said, you speak with the resident first, always, because sometimes you might get a complaint from a family, and because that's happened to me, and you go and you talk to the resident and they're like, no, I'm fine. I don't know, my son has an issue, he's a whatever, don't listen to him, and that's it, the case is closed, because we're there for the residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today, sharing details about the Ombudsman program that the Old Colony Planning Council offers. And I feel that this was a very valuable segment. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for having us.
That.
And we want to thank you for tuning into a program like Community Chat. The idea is to better inform you about the things that are going on, not only in our community, but in and around the South Shore here, if it so pertains to that. Until our next conversation, have yourself a great day.